your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell out before you blow up a plane.
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what, good thing to say I dabbled in stand-up or something. I haven't been disrespectful to you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt. I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean. Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. You can listen to this podcast everywhere fine podcasts are sold. YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Rumble, Rockfin, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble. I said Rumble. All the places. Please like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. Thank you very, very much. Today's guest. Oh, I think he's been on before. I'm pretty sure. You know him. You love him. He is the host of Liberty Lockdown and the co-host of Tower Gang. He's also a frequent on Timcast, and he's on all of the big. He's everywhere. He's everywhere anyone important is at. Welcome back, Clint Russell.
Hey, well, you welcome back. Congrats on motherhood. Yeah, I definitely do a lot of different things. Talk a lot of shit. You know, that's kind of what I do professionally these days, and it's fun. I was just on a space with Josie the Redhead Libertarian and Scott Horton, and now I'm talking to one of my favorite comics out there. Life is good. No complaints.
This is like a redheaded day for you.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about that. You're right.
Double
I get along with the gingers. That's what they say about me.
Aren't you kind of a ginger? No, you're a
brown.
You're a brown.
Brown with gray hair, making it look red. So you know.
Mm-hmm. Like no, I will not be classified as a ginger. It's okay. I'm a fake ginger, so
all right.
I guess I don't really classify either.
Well, Josie fully embraces the ginger label.
Yes. It's good. They are replacing us, so I am passionate about that cause as well. I just heard that they are getting rid of the penny.
Yeah.
This is shocking to me. What are they going to do? Just make things just round up or round down?
I guess. Look, are you old enough to have been a time in your life where pennies actually had seeming value to you? Because I remember when they did.
That's not the right tweet. Yeah, I even still pay with pennies. Like it's kind of a point of pride for me. I like to be at the register at Dunkin' Donuts holding up the whole line while I give exact change.
I don't want to live in a world where I see circular metal items on the ground and they're not even worth my time to pick them up. But that's kind of where we're at now. It's weird to me because like as a kid, I collected pennies. So for them to be, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was exciting. If they were made recently, if like a penny was made that year or the year before, it was like a real find. And like I get excited about a shiny penny. I'm not afraid to admit that here.
Well, I would collect them because the old ones actually had value. So I would try and find the oldest ones possible and then see if there was any like additional retail value. I was a collector.
How old are we talking?
I think like before 53, they were like made of some different material and they were more rare. They were discontinued. So like if they ever get sent back to a bank, they would be essentially broken down and dissolved and produced into something else. So if you find really old stuff, it's usually worth more. As a kid, I still remember those days fondly. So to see Trump put this out, you want me to read it?
Yes.
All right. I can't do a Trump impersonation, so this is not going to be fun. But for far too long, the United States has minted pennies, which literally cost us more than 2 cents. This is so wasteful. I have instructed my Secretary of the U.S. Treasury to stop producing new pennies. Let's rip the waste out of our great nation's budget, even if it's a penny at a time. To which I responded, sorry to be that guy, But the issue is not that it costs too much to make pennies, but that the dollar is increasingly worth less. And that's the
Oof.
truth. It's sad. Pennies. All right. So then people start firing back because everyone, dick
Everyone
rides.
loves the penny, and they don't want to see it go. And
No,
and
no,
uh,
no. The people are dick riding Trump so hard, so they start firing back at me saying you're wrong, blah blah blah. And I'm like, hey, just so you know, like a penny back in 1912 was worth what a dollar is today.
what?
Yeah,
How?
that's inflation. 100 years of inflation, 115 years of
Oh,
inflation.
okay, right.
So,
Damn, that's true. You
um,
could buy things for a penny.
yeah,
You could buy a penny for your thoughts. A
yeah.
thought used to cost a penny. Now it's several dollars, I think, depending on the thought.
Oh, exactly. So, that would be my answer to this is that you need to get federal spending in line. You need to have a deflationary period to offset the brutal inflation that we've suffered under over the past 4 years, and longer than that, really, 100 years, but very bad over the past 4. So that's the libertarian answer, but we're not getting libertarian solutions. So I do understand the logic. It does cost too much to produce a penny because inflation is so bad. It probably does make sense to discontinue it. But I think that the other point that your audience better be paying attention to is that even though Donald Trump came out with an executive order banning the creation of a central bank digital currency, getting rid of pennies is how you start down a CBDC line of thinking. Because once you don't have a base currency to deal with the divisibility of your broad currency, the dollar, well then how long is it before you just go full electronic? And once you go full,
Oh,
how long before they start to do central bank versions of those electronic units? And that's my concern.
yeah, very, very scary. It's almost like that same fear during the pandemic when they were trying to push the sort of like that vaccine ID, digital ID, and I don't know. Anytime I try not to pay with my phone. I try not to pay. I don't know. I just like I said, I like to hold up the line, pay with pennies, pay with cash. I
Yeah.
like to feel the money in my hands. So yeah,
At
what did
least
they
it
get to
feels
do?
real, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember when I first got, kind of rich and I started to think about like what money was. And I started to be like big when I first started to get into Bitcoin. I just started to really think about how little value our currency really has. Like at the end of the day, shit hits the fan. Are you really going to accept paper currency? Like if you're in a crisis, would you want a
Hmm.
$100 bill? Probably not. You're probably going to be like, nah, I need, you know,
I need a dozen eggs
yeah,
because
I
now
need,
they're $20 a
right.
carton.
I need eggs. I need a cow. I need a firearm. Like fiat rapidly diminishes in value. So that's
Yeah, let me borrow your wife for an hour if time gets tough.
exactly right.
Oh goodness. Wow. So I've been enjoying your tweets just in general, Clint. You are one of my favorite follows on Twitter. And I really
Well,
don't
thank you.
the viewers can tell you I don't really say that to anybody. And your tweets are very informative. It's like my own little news channel.
I
But
love it.
I also it helps me stay abreast of what the libertarians are up to, what the thoughts are. Are the libertarians, are we happy with Trump? Are they not happy with Trump? I appreciate that you are still, even all along the election season, you were like, I'm voting for him, but this doesn't mean he gets my seal of approval on
Right.
everything. You're not afraid to still be critical of him on certain things, namely, warp speed and other
Yeah,
issues. But
exactly.
generally, how are the libertarians feeling so far?
Well, the libertarians are divided as ever. But I think that like most most kind of sane, pragmatic libertarians, even if they didn't vote for Trump, they still perceive him to be, you know, the clear lesser of two evils. And I think that's obviously true. Like he's far superior to a Kamala Harris presidency. My God. And let's be honest, like what he's accomplished in his first 3 weeks have been things that I really never even thought possible. Uh, Getting rid of the Department of Education. Like you're going to tell me that a libertarian like wouldn't support that? Uh, Getting a ceasefire in Gaza, like that was great. Now, then he talks about owning Gaza. So then we go from like oh, I love this guy to what the fuck are you talking about? So it's a teeter totter. I think that's kind of how it'll be with Trump. Libertarians, broadly speaking, are free market traders. So we're not fans of tariffs, as tariffs are, in fact, taxes. But if he's using that as a negotiating tactic to try and secure the border or to diminish tariffs that are being applied to our economy from these foreign countries, is that not a net good? Well, the answer is yes, it is. So, it's a mixed bag, but I still believe that as of now, he's the best president in my lifetime. So that's also a very low bar. It's a very low bar, but he's doing all right.
Me too, since I'm only still in my 20s, of course.
Yes.
Best president of my lifetime.
That's right.
I was listening to, gosh, I don't know if it was Morning Wire, which is a little ditty that the Daily Wire puts out, a little ditty podcast in the mornings. They were explaining that, Trump didn't mean that he would own the Gaza Strip. It would just be like, well, if Hamas is not in control anymore, someone's going to have to be in charge of, I guess, like developing all that beachfront property, and that would ultimately kind of fall into the responsibility of our country. So I don't know. Maybe he doesn't mean like it it's not like going to become another state or something.
Yeah, I'll steel man it. I mean, the steel man is that it's just a negotiating tactic, and that the Arab nations, Egypt, Turkey, some others in that area, don't want to actually take ownership of it. They don't want to be responsible for the rebuild, and they certainly don't want to assist with ethnic cleansing to get the rest of the Palestinians off of that land to assist Israel. They certainly don't want to do that. And I might add, not just for principal reasons, but also for tactical ones. Like, it would be very bad. The domestic populations are huge supporters of the Palestinians, and they would probably overthrow their governments if they were to assist the Israelis in getting rid of these people. So they're in a really tough position. So I think that's probably what Trump is doing. But the fact that he's tripled down on it concerns the hell out of me, to be honest.
This is a little clip. This was from his plane, I believe, Air Force One. I think it was. Today is Gulf of America Day. How exciting! I think that's going to be a tourist attraction this year.
I'm committed to buying and owning Gaza. As far as us rebuilding it, we may give it to other states in the Middle East to build sections of it. Other people may do it through our auspices, but we're committed to owning it, taking it, and making sure that Hamas doesn't move back. There's nothing to move back into. The place is a demolition site. It'll be, the remainder will be demolished. Everything's demolished. I mean, you can't live in those buildings right now. They're very unsafe. But we'll make it into a very good site for future.
Yeah. Could this just be some kind of a, not negotiation, but is he saying this to get other people to move in such a way that he actually wants?
Yeah, I mean, that's the best answer as to what he's doing here. But the fact that he's done it now 3 times in the past week is like, oof, I don't know. Look, just from a pragmatic position, I think everybody can realize that the Palestinians are not interested in leaving that land. If they were, they would have left. The Israelis have been trying to get them out of there for a very long time, decades, in fact. They just went through basically a year and a half, year and 8 months, 9 months, whatever it is now, of just brutal bombardment. And they still have a fighting spirit, and they still want to stay there. Most of them still don't want to leave. So for Trump to just say, yeah, we're going to own it. Like, do you think that Hamas is leaving? No, they're not. So what is he really saying? He's saying that we would have to basically invade,
Boot people out.
Yeah, and conquer it. And I don't know about you, but after the last 20 years of the war on terror, I have zero interest in putting any of my, countrymen in harm's way to take over 1 inch of the Middle East. So that's my position.
How about Clint? We just send the trans military over, and that way they can prove how competent they are, and we also can just send them away.
That's a fair compromise offer, and I think that it might be considered hate speech for me to agree with it. So
these are just jokes, people. Of course, they know me.
Look, I don't know that our Navy SEALs could really handle, taking over Gaza. Gaza is a problem, and the IDF is a serious fighting force, and they just struggled with it for the past year and a half. So I think this is delusional. I think it's posturing. I think it's negotiating. And I think that it's very unpopular in America. So I don't think Trump will proceed with it. But just to be safe, I'm still putting it out there. Don't like this.
I
and hope
believe
Trump
you,
listens.
Clint. I took several Krav Maga classes in a Groupon several years back, and they were tough. I got my ass kicked. My legs were swept. I was on the floor. So I would not want to tangle with these folks either.
IDF ain't no joke.
They are all taking Groupon Krav Maga. Okay. I'm very excited about Doge. I'm very excited. It almost feels like as the American people begin to learn just how much of their tax dollars were spent on ridiculous causes and just in general how much money has been spent, I just don't think most people had any clue just the sheer amount of spending that's going on, because you just go through your life every year. Taxes go up. Maybe you earn more, maybe you don't, but you're like, one thing's for certain, right? Death and taxes. And I just don't think it occurred to the average person, like, oh, we could actually take a step back and do cuts and
Yeah.
and
And that we have to.
It's just wild. Like it's almost like I think a lot of Democrats are waking up still, because they're just like, oh, wait a minute, all the other presidents we've had in our lifetime, like, no one's been talking about this. And it's kind of like, did they not know? Did they not care? Is it just it hasn't been a big concern? I don't know. I don't know why now that it's happening. I don't know why this wouldn't have been the number one concern for every president we've ever had. And I think the American people are pissed. Like we're spending it on what and where and what countries, and what do we get for that?
And why wasn't this a bipartisan thing? Like, why is this not the one thing that we can all come together on and say, like, yeah, this is crazy. Let's make sure that the $6 trillion or whatever it is dollars that our federal government spends every year, given that they're only taking 3 or 4 of it from us and then they're borrowing the rest of that. Let's make sure that we're not spending that recklessly. Like, given that the debt is going to be borne by our children that aren't even yet born, or our grandchildren. So it's a real crisis. And this is ultimately like why I broke down and decided to support Trump, despite my absolute anger with him over what happened in 2020, is that, like, the Democrats certainly weren't going to do anything positive, like nothing positive. And when you're facing a $37 trillion national debt, and you're going to have to pay, over $1 trillion in interest alone, like, it's crazy, man. We got to do stuff. So the fact that Doge is like geared to do that is exactly what we needed. And a lot of libertarians were very skeptical. They thought that they wouldn't have teeth. It appears they got teeth, man. They're really going after this thing.
Mm-hmm. They got teeth and they're using them. That's what she said. The Doge discoveries are not just about wasted taxpayer funds. The real story, the 5-alarm fire, is the USAID was literally funding an entire. And this USAID portion of it is so insane. And it's like in your tweet says, I don't think people understand just how our money was being used to screw us over. It's not just like it's wasted. It's been used to control our very minds, and
it's the soft power mechanism by which we control the world. Like, that is really what it is. But here's the thing, is that this isn't new. Like, USAID was founded in 1961 via executive order by JFK. And it was done, after World War II, basically to utilize soft power to try and create and then maintain the neoliberal world order, which is essentially just domination of the rest of the world via the West, and the U.S. being the top of the West. So that was the framework for it. But the point I'm trying to make is, it's not new, but it hadn't been utilized domestically to abuse us. Once Donald Trump became the president of the United States, the deep state, whatever you want to call them, they decided to unleash their full tricks list upon us, including his supporters and even people that aren't his supporters. So I was a libertarian. I didn't vote for him in 16 or 20, but I still felt the same pain that all the Trump supporters did when they started to censor us for telling the truth in 2020 and things of that nature. So yeah, it's an evil cabal. And this is, I think, what, like, the point I try and get across to people is, like, if you didn't like how that felt over the past 5 to 10 years, Well, just imagine what the rest of the world feels about America after they've languished under that same treatment for the past 50 or 60.
Whoa.
See what I'm saying?
Is
So,
it
like,
really is it really that bad? Is it or
yes,
that bad
no,
and
it's worse.
more?
It's more overt. I mean, add into the fact that you're having censorship. Add into the fact that like we create Iraqi Sesame Street to try and propagandize their children. But then add on to that we then have predator drones flying overhead and we can invade them and blow them up at any time. Like, so imagine all of the soft power shit that we had to deal with over the past 10 years. Then add into that real existential violent threat. Like,
Oof.
and some of it being real, like some of it actually being carried out. You lose, relatives because of the American empire, things like that. Like, that's how you really radicalize somebody. And I think that
Yeah.
that's what we've been experiencing in America, is that soft power was being utilized on the domestic population. As a consequence, it was radicalizing our population against our government. Now, as a libertarian, I don't particularly hate that, but as someone who wants to live a peaceful life, it made me very nervous, because like once you start to really demonstrate or like show people how abused they are, and they start to understand it, you don't know how they're going to respond. Like, they can respond really violently. Fortunately, they haven't yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think January 6th is kind of a good example of
Right.
what begins to happen when you start to radicalize a group of people. And it was only like in the form of showing up and a kind of a field day energy. I was there. Everybody, I talk about this all the time. You guys all know. And it was just a lot of people walking around. Some people went inside the Capitals. Most people did not. It was just it was a chill vibe mostly. But what does the mainstream media do? It completely weaponize the attendance, if anybody was there, against them, ruined people's lives, and most importantly, made an example of those people, and kind of just said to the rest of the country, hey, this is what happens, if you show everybody, A, that you're for Trump, or B, if you actually, put your money where your mouth is, or if you actually speak out or physically get out there, and sort of like protest something. And it was crazy making, because we all had just been through the summer of love and how destructive that was.
Yeah.
And all the other groups.
The contrast really demonstrated how politicized those prosecutions were. But I think that like what most people took away, even people that weren't Trump supporters like me, was that like, oh yeah, this is a regime. Like, we have a regime in power. Like, we do not have equal treatment under the law anymore. I mean, so much so that they were willing to spy on and attempt to impeach and essentially coup the sitting president in Trump. So yeah, these dangerous folks, to put it mildly.
Yeah, multiple indictments, multiple assassination attempts, and it took a while for people to for that to really sink in for people. Like, wow, we really are not getting equal treatment under the law, and it's mind blowing.
Well, and then add onto it too that like a lot of the driving force behind Trump's support was immigration issues, right? Well, once you look into how USAID functions, again, it's not about foreign aid. It's the Agency for International Development. So this is just pure soft power manipulation of foreign countries to the benefit of our own. Well, theoretically, our benefit, not really. But what people need to understand is that the entire immigration flood that we've dealt with over the past 4 years was greenlit by the Biden administration. It was overseen and totally permitted by Mayorkas, the head of DHS. But really, the funding mechanism for it via a program through United Nations, which was about international reparations for essentially imperial, wrongs. So the entire West has to pay a price for having, abused the third world hundreds of years ago or 50 years ago or whatever. So we're going to pay reparations by allowing the poorest of the third world to migrate to the wealthiest nations on earth, which happen to be Europe and America. So that was the framework by which it started. But the real thing that gave it steam was USAID took billions of your tax paying dollars and mine, and then handed them out to NGOs, which then handed them out to the migrants and said, here's $1,000 in a cell phone, and here's how you get there, and blah blah blah. And they robbed us to fund our own invasion. I don't think people really understand. This is not a conspiracy theory. That actually happened.
Yeah, and what did they just catch FEMA? Like what, in the last week, giving millions to is it the Roosevelt or some other luxury hotel in New York City, just for the Roosevelt Hotel is just an interesting example because it was kind of falling into disrepair. It was in 2020 I think it was closed, or mostly closed because they're trying to get renovations, and then basically I think it's the Roosevelt Hotel is owned by Pakistan, and so they made a deal, just millions and millions of dollars going into this hotel, just like basically bought it off so they could house, you know, thousands of migrants.
Yeah. Well, they've been doing that in sanctuary cities all across the country. Um, but yeah, this is taxpayer dollars. Like that's probably more state level. I don't think that that's really USAID funding type of stuff. Maybe some of it is. I'm not sure. But the USAID stuff absolutely was being funded to the tunes of billions through NGOs that helped millions and millions and millions of illegals come to the country. And then you had the Biden administration with Mayorkas, who essentially stood down and essentially threatened to prosecute Border Patrol agents if they were to do their job. Like this was a planned, orchestrated, funded invasion of our own country with our own money. I don't think people really are internalizing how incredible that story is and how infuriating it ought to be. Like,
Mhm.
it is one of the most egregious things I've ever seen in my life. And this is coming from a libertarian who historically was not a closed borders guy. Like I was like,
Hmm.
I like immigration, I want to have the best and the brightest from all over the world come to America. We're the melting pot. This is what
We
made
love
America great.
tacos, we
Yeah, yeah.
love curry, why not? We love having
Right.
IT help. Sure.
But
Um
but when I realized how this was actually functioning, when I looked at the illegal immigration rates from, my young adulthood through the 2000s, when it was like 3 to 500,000 annually, and then I'm looking at over the past 4 years and I'm like, "Oh, it's 3 to 5 million annually." I realized instantaneously that this was not organic. And then I started to do the deep dive thanks to, Mike Benz and other people that helped me down this path to figure out, all right, really how is this happening? And once I realized it, I was like, "Oh, we're being conquered." Like this is not
wow.
about, just trying to help the poor and the downtrodden all over the world. No, 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 no. This is about replacing us. And I know I'm not allowed to say that on this channel, so I'll stop there. But you know what I'm saying?
You can say whatever you want.
All right.
Right, because most people think like, yes, they're importing millions of people. They're importing a whole new voter class. Really,
They
I
are.
think I think most people understand that to be true.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
and
by, and by us, I don't mean white people, even though that is obviously the majority of the country. What I'm saying is like they're replacing Americans. They want to replace the domestic population, which is every color, every creed under the sun,
Mhm.
with first generation migrants that do not have the same values that we do. I mean, some of them do, but most of them don't, because we have a very unique value set as Americans. Like we value gun ownership. Like, that is a foreign concept to 90+% of the world. Like they
So
don't relate to that.
you think they would get here, right? That wouldn't even be something they would try for. Well, I mean, they could probably get illegal guns, no problem. But
Well, sure, but but for the most part, like they just don't. Their threshold of expectations of human liberty is far lower than ours because
right.
we have been blessed to have a fairly free lifestyle. If you're coming from a third world dictatorship to America, even in the tyrannical version of America that we live under today, to them that feels like a breath of
Still,
fresh air.
it's still great, right? Because their standards for liberty and freedom are so low. They're just happy to be
Exactly
here,
right.
getting free stuff.
So this is why I reject the paradigm entirely. And I say that no, I am not an open borders libertarian any longer. And why I think that we ought to have a full freeze and moratorium on legal immigration until we can deport the most violent ones that came across over the past 4 years and then allow some time for the incredible flood. I mean, it's 20 million or so. From some estimates, it's 30 to 40 million. We don't know for sure over the past 4 years alone. I mean, we're talking about like arguably 10% of our population in a 4-year period just came across our border. Like that's dramatic. You have to take dramatic actions to alleviate those pressures. And if you don't, well, all of this white nationalist stuff that we've been seeing pop up, that's fed by this behavior. Like, and I don't blame them. I totally understand like why you would go, oh my God, what is happening here? But the only way you stop that is to actually address their concerns. And if you address their concerns, then I think you can actually turn down the temperature and maybe be able to get this country to be cohesive again. But if you don't, if you ignore their concerns, and God forbid you can continue with a 5 to 10 million, illegals coming in over the next presidential term and the next and the next and the next and the next, well, yeah, you're going to have, violent stuff like we've seen in Europe.
Yeah. Oh God. And they're even further down the path of
they're screwed. They're
kind
toast.
of like losing their original like culture and original population and their heritage and all that. It's like it's really upsetting. But
they are toast. It's so sad.
You think that Europe is at a point where they can't come back?
Yeah, I do, because like, even if you have 60% of the population is still domestic born or whatever, or not a first or second generation immigrant, that you still have this entire woke mind virus that has been seeped into probably 80% of their minds. So you have 20% of 60%. So whatever that math is,
Asians in the chat.
You have like 12% of the population of Europe that is like genuinely awake and aware and knows what's happening and hates every ounce of it. That's not enough probably to turn the tides. So I think that they're in a lot of trouble. I really do.
Right, because there's a big portion of the population that's like, well, they're kind of softened. They're like, well, we can't split up the families, and we can't.
Right.
Meanwhile, it's like the people are not coming to these countries under safe or good conditions. Like they'll be like 8 and 9 month pregnant women crossing the border just to literally like plop out a baby as soon as they get here. That's not safe for anybody.
Well, that's the other thing that I can't stand about some of these open border libertarian arguments is like, so you think that under the 13th Amendment, which is basically how you have the anchor baby law, which was obviously crafted to deal with freed slaves, to give them citizenship to the country. Do you think that like our founding fathers would have said, yeah, we're going to, like, obviously we're still not going to allow just anybody to come here and be an American. But if you come here and you just sit down and you have a baby, then that baby gets to stay, but you don't? Like, do you think that that's how they would have formulated the system? Because like, so a woman comes across the border illegally. She has a baby. The baby's an American. She's not. She's got to go. Like, do you really think that that's the system that they would have structured? Like, the answer is obviously no. That's not what they had envisioned. It's a total bastardization of that law. I don't think that should have ever been how we viewed things. You have to keep the family intact, obviously. So it's ridiculous.
N-word snowman. Very, very.
Hell yeah.
I thought that said N-word, like N-word. Okay, it would have been funny too. Radicalization is part of the plan. J6 failed in its role as a new Reichstag fire. I should know what that is, being German. So they'll have to try again.
Yeah, well, that was the fire to, I think it jailed Hitler and then brought him to power afterwards. I could be wrong. But anyways, yes, I could totally agree with this analogy, because J6, even if like, I don't know what TOS is on this topic at this point, but look, it's pretty obvious that they had at least plainclothes cops that were there, and probably full blown agents. I mean, they already acknowledged it was 28,
yes,
something like that.
More than that,
and I think it's probably far more than that. And my opinion, and it's a strong one, is that pipe bomb that was put at the DNC was planted there with the expectation that if they weren't successful in catalyzing the riots on J6, that was going to be their go-to to try and criminalize his supporters anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And when they got those riots to happen, well, then the pipe bomb became, a plan B that was no longer necessary. Then it was inert, and we still never found the guy. Sure, you found everybody. You found 1,500 people, but you didn't find the guy who actually had a bomb when no one else had a weapon that day. Okay.
Right. When there's cameras everywhere. Sure.
Yeah. And by the way, you have that guy in footage. And by the way, you used an entire, geofencing to get every single person that was there on J6, but you can't get the guy who had a pipe bomb. Wow. What a coincidence. So yes, I think it was a Reichstag fire. I think it was a false flag to justify the criminalization of Trump's entire supporter base. I really do.
Oh yeah. So he wouldn't run again, so they could get him on what's it called?
Insurrection.
Yes. I have a bottle of wine. Actually, I bought a couple of years ago. It was like 5 bottles of wine at my local wine spot. It's called like Insurrection wine. And, I think I drink like 1 bottle a year. I save it. I save it for my special day. Eric Heffelfinger, I'm fine with the business development in Gaza. Perhaps it will help solve some of the conflict, but owning it is ridiculous.
Yeah, look, I'm not interested in funding it at all. Like, I not because I don't care about those people. I do to a certain extent, but like we are $37 trillion in debt. Like, we don't have any money to give to people. This is absurd. Every penny we send to the rest of the world, we're borrowing. So stop. That's the only answer here. If other foreign countries want to intervene to assist these people, which they ought to because they're actually their neighbors, and I'm sure that they would like to see peace there, well, then they have all the, real impetus to do so. We don't have any real impetus to do so, aside for the fact that Mary Matelson donated $100 million to Donald Trump, and that would be very good for Bibi.
Yes, it would. Eric again. Thank you for the 5. People yelling Elon Musk wasn't elected. Voted for and his access to data funded and expand the mass surveillance state created by the Patriot Act. Good point.
Yeah, these people are real concerned about privacy, right?
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, and they should be more upset about the penny.
They should. I'm just really upset about Edward Snowman.
The pipe bombs were plan A. The riot made it unneeded. Yep. Yes, Bob. That is what
I think it's plan B, but whatever. Potatoes.
They had to have many plans. Yeah, it was absolutely. It wasn't Nancy Pelosi's daughter like actively filming a documentary while it was happening.
Yeah, and it's all true that Trump did offer them National Guard troops, like to the tune of 20,000 or something, and they turned it down. So like they wanted this to happen. I really don't have any doubt about that.
Oh yeah, it was. I remember the FBI called my house one time, and they wanted to confirm if a video that I had posted on Facebook was indeed my video. And why did they want to confirm it? Because they wanted to use it to prosecute people.
Yep.
And then I'm thinking, why are they even calling to ask permission? I'm sure at this point they probably screen recorded it, right? If they want to, they could take the whole thing. It just seemed like a strange thing to do. And I was like, oh no, they're probably just trying to intimidate me and seeing like, oh God, like, there's probably a fair amount of people who the FBI calls them, then they just start talking because they're nervous.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they probably wanted to prosecute you.
Yeah. But you didn't because I didn't go in the building.
Good job.
Then I would have had to have had a baby in jail.
Man.
I guess that would have been rough.
But then you'd be a pardoned felon, and that's kind of cool.
Yes, and think of all the cool tattoos I would have at this point. And I would be in great shape because, like, if you're in jail, I imagine you can just focus on your reading and your push-ups and crunches.
That's all you got to do, man.
Yeah, it's probably nice in a way. Unless you don't wake up like, what to do today? Back to my job.
Only mothers of young children think that jail sounds nice. I get peace and quiet. I get to read. This sounds amazing.
Can sleep. No. I'd be like, does anyone have a white noise machine in here? Anybody? You can't have boppies in jail. Oh my God. No, very, very happy that nothing happened to me. And I'm very happy everyone's been pardoned. Also very exciting that was surprising to me, but maybe not to you because you're up on all this stuff, that Trump pardoned the Silk Road guy.
Oh, I'm definitely not surprised by that. You want to know the backstory on that?
Yes.
Okay. So I know Lynn Ulbricht. I've only cried on my show 3 times, and 2 of them were when she was on my show. So
what was the third time?
I was talking about the importance of fatherhood. Yeah. So I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, like familial parental things are like the things that obviously get me, touch me. So that's weird to say parent stuff touches me. Anyways, that didn't happen.
It's touching. There you go.
It's touching. That's what I meant. So anyways, I had Lynn on my show. She's been fighting to get her son freed for over a decade now. She's an absolute sweetheart. She's an absolute legend. And she's just one of the nicest people I ever met. Anyways, I end up running for the vice presidency of the United States of America under the Libertarian Party because Dave Smith opts not to. So I slot myself in there. I'm in DC, and what we don't know at the time, but I know now, or at least the public didn't know. I kind of knew because I'm more insider. Was that Donald Trump was going to speak that day? RFK was there. Vivek was there. I debated Vivek, which was insane. That was so much fun. But
is that recorded anywhere?
Yeah, I don't know where, but yeah, I think if you search Clint Russell, Vivek Ramaswamy, it should come up somewhere. But anyways, what I knew was that Angela McArdle, the chair of the Libertarian Party, was negotiating with the Trump administration, with the Trump team, not knowing that he was going to win. I mean, obviously, a year ago, it seemed very much in doubt that Trump would ever see the White House again. And then there was assassination attempts. Like a lot of stuff could have derailed this. But what Angela was negotiating was essentially to try and get. He wanted to get the endorsement of libertarians, and we wanted to get Ross Ulbricht free because he's a crypto pioneer. He's a free market entrepreneur type of guy, and he just became a very kind of a special figure for the libertarians. And we got Trump to agree to that. Angela McArdle got Trump to agree that I will pardon Ross Ulbricht on day one. And when I was sitting there, 8th row, as he gave that speech, Donald Trump said it, and I videoed it and I put it out, and it went super viral. And no one thought he would follow through because we all hate politicians and we're all so jaded. Sure as shit, he did. 36 hours into his presidency, he released Ross Ulbricht into the arms of his loving mother, and it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced in my life. And the fact that I got to play even a tertiary role in that was the most gratifying experience I've had in politics ever.
Yeah, it just and I've had Angela on in the past to talk about this, and the times I've heard her talk about it seems so hopeless, and
sure did.
There's just so many sort of like political prisoners where you're like, well, they're just fucked, and what can anybody do?
But Trump did so much better than that, though, because it's not like he just freed Ross. He freed almost, I think, all but 5 or something of the J6ers are free now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's amazing. It really did so much to heal the damage that our country suffered over the past 4 years. And I'm so appreciative of it. I took a lot of flack, particularly since I was running for the VP slot in the LP when I decided to come out and declare I was going to vote for him a few weeks before the election. But I don't regret it. I think it was probably the best political decision I've ever made.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think, Clint, Trump would have to do to kind of mend fences with the people like yourself who are very upset still about warp speed and
I think
the jabs and the lockdowns?
I think to a certain extent he's doing it. Like the Doge stuff is huge. I think really the big thing is going to be, does Bobby get confirmed for HHS? He wrote The Real Anthony Fauci. He wrote the book on Anthony Fauci. I've read the book. He knows where the bodies are buried. He understands the unbelievable, nefarious nature of Anthony Fauci better than maybe anyone on the planet other than Anthony Fauci himself. He really knows what's up. So to have that dude take over HHS is about as big of an olive branch as you can offer me. So I'm thrilled about that. The hearings are supposed to happen in the next 48 hours. If he gets confirmed, and if you actually take the cuffs off of Bobby and you just say, go, dude, you're our pit bull. Go after everybody that's responsible for the creation of COVID, the lockdowns, everything. Go. Like, you want me to forgive you, Trump? That's how you do it.
Mm-hmm. What can they do to Fauci? Because he's been sort of pre-pardoned by Biden already. Of course. And if you ask him, if you ask Fauci, he has no idea why he's been pardoned. Thank you, but I don't know what this is for.
I think this is a very important thing for people to understand. That pardon goes back to January 1st of 2014 to December 31st of last year. That's an 11-year pardon. Now, let me explain for people that don't understand, why that's pertinent, why that's important. January 1st of 2014 just happens to encompass perfectly within a few months later that Hunter Biden, which is, by the way, the same pardon that Hunter got, was to January 1st of 2014 as well, was when he gets put on the board of Burisma, when the biolabs inside of Ukraine start to be utilized via Metabiota, which Hunter Biden is once again on the board of Metabiota, which Victoria Nuland, under Senate testimony to Marco Rubio acknowledged that there was biolabs in Ukraine that she was concerned about getting into the hands of Vladimir Putin. So like this is not woo-woo conspiracy stuff. And if you actually look at the duration of that pardon and you ask yourself, do you think this is all coincidental, that it just happens to go back to the Maidan revolution and everything that we were doing that was dirty in Ukraine? I don't think
it's not
so.
woo-woo, it's Wuhan.
It's well, I think it was but that's the key though. I don't think it was just Wuhan. I think that we were working on this stuff in America. I'm blanking on the name of it. UNC Chapel Hill.
Yep.
Ralph Barrick.
Yep.
And then I think it was some of this work was done in Canada, some of this work was done in Ukraine, and obviously the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Like this is a big, big operation. And I think that Putin is not lying about that particular aspect of his explanation for the necessity to invade Ukraine.
Right. And also with our tax dollars. Another thing.
Yeah. Pretty cool, right? They rob us blind to then poison us, and then they also rob us blind to invade us. And then if we protest it, they rob us blind to then censor us, and then they rob us blind to imprison us, and then ultimately kill us. So it's a pretty cool system.
And replace us with people that can vote the other way.
Yep. It's unbelievable. It really is.
Yeah. The more people learn, it's how do you not get so mad about everything that's going on?
I don't know. I feel like I'm the conduit for like people that actually understand and are as upset as they ought to be. Like everybody else is like, I can't listen to you, dude. You're too intense. But I think like I am like the reason I've had any success as a podcaster is because people go like, I need someone to reflect my anger about what's happening. And I'm like, I share your anger.
And
I am
also
your vengeance.
you're great at explaining what's going on, kind of like in small digestible bites. You're like the mama bird chewing up
right.
little pieces of, and then you're spitting it into our mouths, Clint.
Yes, exactly. I'm just regurgitating truth into your faces over and over again.
We need somebody to do this. Let me pull this up. Explain this meme. Dun dun dun. Rand Paul retweeted this meme of his dad.
All right. Elon says, Ron, you should come over. I can't. I'm busy, says Ron Paul. We're going to audit the Fed, and then Ron's on his bike headed over. Look, there's been for decades now. Ron Paul wrote the book called End the Fed. He very much was responsible for popularizing the concept of ending the Federal Reserve. Austrian economics essentially, reviles central banking broadly, but the Federal Reserve in particular, being the global reserve currency, is the most evil central bank. So libertarians hate it with a passion. It is ultimately why we're getting rid of the penny, is because they've debased our currency so much that we can't even produce pennies for the cost of a penny. It's insane. So yeah, Elon has been saying over the past few days, and he's been hinting at Austrian economic stuff for years now, putting out Anatomy of the State by Rothbard a couple of years ago. He just randomly tweets that, and that's like almost a religious scripture for libertarians. It's like such a great book. So he's
a libertarian dog whistle.
yeah. Well, more than a dog whistle. I mean, it's like flat out. Rothbard is one of our 3 or 4 greatest influential thinkers and writers. So so then a couple days ago, Senator Mike Lee out of Utah says, why don't we just put Rand Paul as the next Fed chair? And Elon says, yeah, let's do that. And a few days before that, Elon's talking about having Ron Paul audit the Fed. And I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm telling you, if that would be a capstone to an incredible life, Ron Paul deserves it more than anybody.
What do you think they would find?
Unbelievable corruption. Unbelievable. I mean, we don't even understand, just to give your audience some understanding as to like what we might find. We don't even understand the $800 billion bailout that happened via TARP. If you're old enough to remember the 2008 recession after the real estate collapse, when they bailed out the banks, the TARP program, it was called the Troubled Asset Relief Program. On top of that, when we got a partial audit sometime in the 2010s, we found out that there was allegedly trillions of dollars of additional bailouts from the central bank, the Federal Reserve, to Europe to heal their banks temporarily to basically keep the global economy intact. So as of now, the Federal Reserve's balance sheet is totally opaque. Like we're not privy to what they're doing. So yeah, an audit of the Fed would be huge.
What haven't they already kind of blocked Elon from some part of the treasury already?
They did. My expectation is that Elon walked into the treasury and one of his Doge autists just put a thumb drive in and downloaded all of the treasury data, and then they walked out. So I think before the judge could have
Oh,
stopped them, I think they already have the data that they needed.
really? That's like a movie, Clint.
Well, it's a guess. I don't know for a
Mhm.
fact, but like I'd be surprised if they wouldn't do that. Like, you think they're just going to sit in the treasury building for weeks on end as they go through this data, or would you just go like,
No, you take
let's
it
get
and
the
run.
data and let's go scrape it. Let's go see what's up. So that's what I think happened, and I think that they're panicking because I think that they know that all of their theft, corruption, criminality is hidden in our financial records, which are intentionally opaque so that we can't catch them. But if you have someone who's actually interested in catching them, which TBD if Elon's that guy, I hope he is. If he is, man, it's going to be. I mean, this is why I'm so pumped on Trump's second term. Like, this is almost everything we needed to save this country, and I never thought we had a chance at seeing this in my lifetime. I was so black pilled. I was such a doomer. I was like, we're screwed because I thought Trump was our outsider, and then lockdowns happen and warp speed and all this stuff. I was like, oh, we got played. This is so bad. But these first 3 weeks give me a lot of reason to be hopeful, and Doge is a big part of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It really is unbelievable. I still feel like I just remember watching the election like this isn't happening. He's not winning. It's like
I know.
something bad's gonna happen.
I mean, they had him looking at, I don't know, 80 felonies or something for 700 years in prison. He literally has a bullet graze his head. Like, they impeached him multiple times. They spied on him. The FBI spied on him before he was even the president the first time. Like, the list of what they've done to try and stop this guy is it's as extreme as anything aside from an assassination, like a successful one. So the fact that he's back in there and he seems to be behaving as if he's a guy who dodged a bullet, like he's pissed, like he's
Yeah.
serious. I mean, it's everything we needed, man. It's huge.
Imagine like they're just listening to Trump for years before he runs, and all the conversations are just like Melania, Barron is bumping his head on all of the ceilings. He's bumping his head on the door frames. We have to he's
We have
broken
to
the
get
gold
back into the White
toilet.
House.
Yeah.
Our giant Nephilim boy.
He's growing out of all of his pants. They're too short for him. Hello, Viking. Thanks for the 199. We need Ron Paul as Fed chair. I
Yes,
mean,
we do.
is that even a possibility?
Yeah. Oh, it is. The Fed chair is appointed by the president of the United States. So Trump could. Will he? I mean, I don't know. Ron is like 87 or something. He's super old now.
Well, you know what? They can
But-
pump him full of whatever they were pumping in Biden for years
Look,
and
Ron,
get him going.
yeah, Dr. Paul is still far more sharp than Joe Biden is by a million miles. I don't even think you need to pump him up for it. But I'm just saying, does he want to spend the last decade of his life taking this on? Maybe he does. He's a true believer. Like, I've met him. I know him a little bit. He's on my show. I love the guy. But I'm just thinking for myself. Like, if I was like hitting 90, would I really want to spend like the last 5 years of my life as the Fed chair? I don't know. Maybe he would.
Or maybe like, right, does he want to go out like Biden, just sipping Metamucil on a beach somewhere?
Right. Well, I mean, Dr. Paul is like, basically he's a deity for libertarians. So I just want him to do what he wants to do. Like, there's a lot of people in our world that could handle Fed chair. If you want to have a Ron Paulian be Fed chair, it doesn't have to be Ron Paul. It can be Tom Woods. It can be Bob Murphy. There's lots of guys that we know that are awesome that could handle it. But if Ron wants it, it's his. I'll
Wow.
go to the mat for him.
Okay, cool. Do you think there's going to be any problem with confirming RFK or Tulsi?
Oh yeah.
I'm starting to get a little nervous.
Yeah. I mean, there already is a problem. Like this, if they weren't doing delay tactics, this would have happened weeks ago already. So they're trying. I mean, their lobbyists are going full speed ahead. People don't understand this about HHS, but that's, for those that don't know, that's what Bobby Kennedy is going to be the head of. HHS is a huge treasure trove. I mean, it is like, I think it's the second biggest budget, if not bigger than DoD. Like it is enormous. And in it, it's not just biomedical research and blah, 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 and health stuff. It's bioweapons research. Like they work hand in hand with DoD to a certain extent too. So we're talking major money. We're talking all of the biggest corporations in the world, from the military industrial complex to the big pharma industrial complex. So all of the highest powered lobbyists in the world are working, in my opinion, to keep Bobby out. So if he gets in, it is strictly on the backs and the sweat of his supporters, like me. Not to give myself credit, but I'm just saying, like, the people that support Bobby.
It. Yeah.
Like we're such a weird dissident group of people. Like I hate the economics of most RFK Jr. supporters. I hate it. Like they're all lefties. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
But like they believe in medical freedom, and they understand that we're poisoning ourselves, and I see that too. So this is a weird coalition. It's a beautiful thing. It's Republicans, Libertarians, and Democrats that all see an issue, and they're coming together to try and get him in there. So yes, he's got a major roadblocks in front of him, but so does Tulsi Gabbard, because Tulsi Gabbard, as DNI, Director of National Intelligence, she basically blew up her Democrat political career by calling out what happened in Syria, when she talked about how, as a medic, dealing with the fallout of our fighting in Iraq, she saw the death and destruction firsthand from ISIS and those type of radical Islamic groups. And then she realized through Operation Timber Sycamore that in the mid 2010s, we started to fund ISIS in Syria. And she's like, this is insane. Like, we're funding our enemies because we think that Assad is somehow worse. This clean-shaven dude, Bashar al-Assad in Syria, is worse than ISIS? Are you out of your effing mind? But anyways, because she called that out, she was immediately kicked out of the Democrat Party. And
damn. Wow.
Yeah, and as a consequence, the warrior princess herself, the warmonger in chief, Hillary Clinton, got that nomination. So yeah, I think that Tulsi as DNI would be a big step in the right direction. So I'm very optimistic, though, that the betting odds have them both as a slim favorite to get confirmed. I hope that comes to pass.
Bob here says Tulsi got through committee today. She will be confirmed probably on Wednesday. All right, we're trusting you, Bob.
Well, I mean, that is the timeline. It doesn't mean that they'll be confirmed, but we hope.
Don't let us down, Bob. Isabella, I love my suitcase. That's irrelevant, but thank you for letting me know. Simon Ho, my only Asian fan. Biden was the Manchurian Candidate. Pardon? I don't understand that. I didn't see that movie.
I guess maybe they're saying that it wasn't Joe Biden that was actually issuing the pardons. Yeah, you're probably right. It was.
Oh, right.
He's the figurehead.
Just because I'm free. Hey, Clint, how's your blue-haired them girlfriend? Do you have a girlfriend?
Nope. When I did the show with Luke, we would sometimes joke about me. Like, we would open every show with Luke Witkowski with basically like a video of some horrific looking woman, and then Luke would start the show by saying, "And that's Clint's girlfriend." And then we start the show. So I'm guessing that that's a fan of the Best Political Show, which I used to do with Luke. I don't know for sure, but no, I don't have a blue-haired girlfriend. So,
are you single and ready to mingle? The chat wants to know.
Am I single? Not really.
Okay, not ready to mingle. Final answer. DS says HHS, huge, humongous Sims. Is that right? Maybe. Yes.
I'm not. I mean, broadly speaking, I don't like HHS. Like, I want it to be defunded massively. But if it's going to exist, I want anybody that's the exact opposite of Anthony Fauci there, and that's Bobby Kennedy. So,
yeah, I think he's pulled together quite the Avengers group of people. Quite the group of talent. This is a fun little clip we can comment on. I almost think that this is possibly not even real, but I just want to get your thoughts, Clint.
Get the hell out right now. You can't do this. I don't care about you filming. Like I told you, I'm not seeing you. I am not. Take that ridiculous off if you want want to be seen by you.
Keep recording, baby. Keep recording.
I don't care about her recording. I'm
Listen to
telling
this.
you.
Hey,
What I'm saying is you come in my office, I have the right not to see you.
the right.
Yes.
The
Read the
right.
laws at your class, honey. Take the ridiculous hat off if you want me
So
to.
this doctor is not seeing this guy because he's wearing a MAGA hat. What I don't understand is, like, even if he takes it off, she's still pissed.
Right.
You know, like, I wouldn't trust this doctor. Like, she's already upset with you for your hat.
Yeah. From her perspective, it'd be like walking in there with like a KKK, pointy white sheet on, and then you take it off right before you see her, and you're like, oh, now we're good. Like, no,
Right. Oh, excuse
like,
me. I was running late from a prior engagement. How could I?
look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think this is fake.
You think this is fake?
I do. I don't think it's real.
I'll play the rest
He
of
can
it.
be sick. He can stay sick. He can remain sick.
Yeah, because this is so crazy unprofessional.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this would get her fired. And
Donked up though there, huh?
lots of people wearing MAGA
You
hats.
need me. I don't need you.
Yeah, there's no way she pokes him in the chest like that. There's no way.
No, that's a lawsuit. You can see me when I come in.
The way he's responding to is performative. He's acting.
Oh.
And you go see me, or you go and get someone else and tell them to come.
Yeah, you know what? I almost caught her laughing.
Yeah, exactly. She's like
The
smiling
doctor.
because he takes on
Yeah.
a black affectation, and I think she almost breaks character.
You will respect my authority.
You will see me. You gonna see me.
You gonna see me.
You want me to see you, don't you? I'm gonna have to touch you in, right? Answer that. You want
Okay,
me to
no,
see
this
you?
is like
You want
world
me to
star
touch
hip
you?
hop.
Yeah.
Oh, TikTok.
This is how people go viral these days. I don't know if you've seen it, but about 6 months ago, there was these series of plane incidents, scare quotes, that kept going viral. But then you looked, and it was like obviously the same plane in the same seats, and it was just a studio set. Like they were just creating.
Oh, you're right. I did see those. There were a lot of viral plane fight moments.
Yep. So
This was like over the summer, I think. There were
yeah, exactly.
quite a few clips.
People got to stay woke, man. They're trying to get us.
And then you had a lot of people in the comments, "Oh, I'm not flying anywhere ever again. It's not
Right.
worth it. It's not worth it to get on a plane anymore." I'm like, that's what they want you to think.
Well, in fairness, I think that our aviation issues are serious, but not because of the passengers.
Yeah. Oh my God. I still check for white elbows anytime I board a plane. I look right into that cockpit for white elbows.
I go, "Ooh, DEI free."
DS again. Damn, sounds like my doctor about my cholesterol. All right,
Dude, me too, brother. I get you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I just had a doctor's appointment like last week, and it was I'm not gonna talk about it. Like, yes, it was my gynecologist, but not I was talking to her about, like, I really wanted the details of like my birth for some reason, not my birth, my kid's birth. I was so fascinated with it. I was like, I want to see my chart. Like, I want to know exactly what happened, because like it all kind of, I mean, yeah, it took several hours, but I feel like it all happened so fast. And like, I almost wish that I could have been on the other side. Like,
well, let me tell you, as someone who has been on the other side during
it's
birth,
traumatizing.
Oh, it's hell. It is one of the worst things.
It's
All right,
scary, right?
You want the story? I'll give you the Cliff's Notes.
Okay.
All right. So when I was a kid, I was an only child until I was 7.5 years old. And my parents told me that I was going to have a baby brother. And I was super pumped. And my mom, for some reason, decides that it'd be a great idea for me to be in the room at 8 years old, watching my mom's vagina expand like a...
You really watched it?
Dude,
oh no!
I watched it. I was sitting, I don't know, 8 feet away from it. It was wild.
That's the splash zone. That's too close.
I was in the splash zone. I still remember the smell.
Oh no!
Not like it was like bad, but like just had a very unique smell. It was like medical, I don't know.
Oh, like hospital smells, not like birth smells, or maybe.
Well, no, I think all of the above. I just remember like a very unique smell, and I was only 8, so like it's one of my first memories. Is like vivid. I vividly remember that.
Yeah, 8. You're old enough to remember stuff then for sure.
Yeah.
Whoa. And then at the end, were you like, Mom, why did you make me watch that? Now I'm
I will say this though, despite the fact that it is kind of traumatizing, it did, and I don't know that it changed my bond I have with my brother. Maybe I would have had such a great bond regardless, but I have an incredible bond with my brother because of seeing him come into the world. I think as a big brother, it just immediately, imbued in me all of the innate genetic defensive mechanisms that I have.
Wow.
So, maybe it's what we ought to be doing. I don't
Wow, you
know.
saw him as a little itty bitty. I watch videos of like births, I guess because it's on my algorithm now. There was a video of this woman. I think because before I gave birth, I was so fascinated with the idea that you could just like pop one out in your kitchen or in a tub. And then like the idea of not having to go to a hospital is like is pretty cool to me that like you could just get a midwife. I mean, that's not what I did because I was like, I don't know, in case shit hits the fan. And I was
Right.
glad to be in an actual hospital. But it's cool. The idea of doing it yourself is pretty neat. And so I was watching this video of this woman. She's totally naked. It's a side view of her, so it's not like a graphic. You're not like looking into the eye of the storm or anything. But she's like totally naked. She's just standing in her kitchen, like just with her hands on her thighs and just kind of mostly standing, a little bit squatting. Her husband, her like man is behind her, like just with no mitt or anything, just behind her, like, about to catch this baby. And like same thing, there's a little kid, like maybe 4 years old watching. And
Yeah.
I'm like, someone needs to maybe like, I don't know, strap this kid down. Like he's too like he's young and excitable. And he's like has this cute like little kid voice. He's asking all these questions. He's like, "Oh, wow, what's going on?" And like, I don't know how the mom is not like, "Shut the fuck up. Like go in your room." Dad is just like, "That do not like stay back, son." Like he also like definitely in the splash zone. He was like a foot away from what was going on. And then the dad's just like this, and it was amazing to watch this woman like push this baby out because then the dad catches it, but like she's standing up. So it's almost like the baby is like bungee jumping out of his mother.
Yep.
The cord almost like kind of,
Catches him.
he catches him, and there's like it's so incredible to watch. Like I will watch these videos and I will just like start crying because of how amazing birth is. It really like
It is.
it and then you realize like wow, every single human being like is such a miracle. And
Except for Anthony Fauci. Yep, true.
except for him. Yes. He's
Came straight out of the pits of hell.
something went wrong there.
Well, I got one more quick story on childbirth. My mom tried to have a natural birth with me, and as a consequence, she was in labor for 72 hours, was not able to get me out. Yeah, terrible. So I was
Oh,
supposed to be born on I think August 1st, and I was born on August 4th. It's crazy.
you're just
Huge head, huge head.
oh
So
my gosh. So did you get stuck or you took your time coming out?
I don't really know. I just know that they tried to do a home birth for like a day, and then they finally broke down, took her to the hospital, and by day 3 I finally came out. So it was brutal. Absolutely brutal.
So she too was watching many Instagram videos of home births.
I'm a little too old for Instagram, but yeah.
Oh, wow. No, it's hardcore.
But
I
it was just wild to me because it took her 3 days to birth me, and it took her 45 minutes to birth my brother, and I was like, "Damn, dude! Like
That's
either you relaxed a lot, or my head is enormous."
well,
And I think
that's what
it's
happens,
probably the latter.
Clint. You were like the Kool-Aid man kind of bursting through the wall, and then
Exactly.
your brother could just glide out.
That's what they call me. They call me Kool-Aid Clint.
You're the Kool-Aid man. Wow. That is pretty cool that you watched your brother being born. DES is back. That should be automatic trust fund or a fisting. Again, I have no idea what you're talking about, but thank you. So now we know why Clint has a bush fetish. Wow.
Oh my God. For the record, do not.
Do not. He's just ladies, just so you know. Carry the hit cut my son out of me. Oh my gosh. I'm very grateful I didn't need to do a C-section because
Yeah.
I don't know. Weirdly, I guess a point of pride. I wanted to be able to like push him out myself. But you also got to give that up. Like birth is so humbling. Like you think you can control the moment where you start feeling contractions. It's like, whoop, it's kind of in God's hands now. And the hospital staff. Like I felt so weirdly attached to like every nurse and doctor who came in. I wanted to be like, "What's your name? I want to send you an animal arrangement." Like because you're
For
just
sure.
they're there with you and you're so vulnerable and emotional and just you're not sleeping and it's like you're throwing up. It's drugs. It's the epidural. It's like I'm trying to freaking tell jokes to the guy giving me the epidural. He's not laughing. You're
Well, my
just
mom tried to do it with no meds, and that's why it took 3
Yep.
days. And within I think 5 minutes of her finally breaking down and taking the epidural, I was born like right away.
Oh, wow. I wonder what it would have been like if I had just taken the epidural right away too. I waited like at least 4 hours. I decided to suffer like
Yeah.
your mom. I was like, I got this. I'm German. And you just have no idea how long it's gonna go on for. So
Yeah. Well, I have the answer. It can go 3 days.
3 days.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I can't even imagine. Man.
Wowie. I was
Respect to her.
yeah, very much. DS, my bad. I missed the cue. Y'all are awesome. Quee? All right, DS, you're going into a timeout.
He keeps sending money. Let him.
It's all right. Yeah. Keep going. Wow, that's really neat. Very cool. Do you want to have kids, Clint?
I do. Yeah. I'm of the
Aw.
age now where I'm like, yeah, let's do this.
Let's do this. Pump them out. It's fun. Although I wouldn't recommend. My husband held a leg while I was giving birth, and he felt like he worked a shift. He was handing tools to the nurses, and he didn't like that. And he also didn't like the very uncomfortable little bed thing he had to sleep on. I heard about that for several days.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that, I prioritized entrepreneurial endeavors and, more, I guess, selfish instincts throughout my 20s and 30s. And I accomplished a lot. So I'm not complaining about it, but I definitely sacrificed some pretty solid relationships, some really, really good relationships that like I probably shouldn't have, but I was just like so driven to make it. And now I'm
Any
like,
names you want to shout out? No.
no, I'm not going to do that to them.
Imagine, like,
Yeah, they'd be like, "Oh, you son of a bitch."
look, if you're listening.
But look, I have like that's been the good thing about being honest in all my relationships is like I still am on good terms with all of my exes. Not like we talk regularly, but like there's no bad blood. And most
I
of
have
them
nothing but bad blood. I have the worst
well,
blood. I would not.
but you're probably a lunatic though, right?
I can't stand it. No, they all. I do not have good relationships with my exes. I don't talk to them. I don't pretend they don't. I pretend they don't exist. It's
That's
good.
interesting. Yeah, maybe I'm just I don't know. But yeah, I've got, amicable relationships with all of them and most of them have gone on to get married or have kids and I feel like it's my turn now. So I'm hopefully in the next couple years.
It's Clint's time.
It's
Yes.
my time. I feel
see
like once you've done the chasing money thing, it's kind of like, all right, what else is there to do in life? Are you just gonna
Chase
continue
kids.
to pursue selfish endeavors forever? Are you gonna be Bill Maher trying to bang 30-year-old black chicks when you're 70? Like,
No.
I don't know, man. I don't think
Bill
so.
Maher, no, he sits in a chair that makes him look like it's too big for him. He looks like a kid kind of playing dress up. No, he's great. Yeah, I think once you have like enough money to live, you don't have to chase it as much.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And like for me, I was very driven because I had a successful father who was like he set the bar very high financially for like what would be
Oh, wow,
success.
okay.
So I was like, all right, I gotta fucking crush. So I did. And then now I gotta do the other more, I don't know.
Life things, yeah.
Yeah, the more life things.
Work-life balance.
Yes. Exactly.
But society and also it seems like your family directly, like there's a lot of pressure on guys to earn and to maybe even more so a lot of guys that dating around think, wow, am I not going to be able to be successful? Especially when your algorithm is feeding you videos of women going, you need to have 6 figures and be 6 feet tall and have a big piece.
Yeah. It's weird because like I check all those boxes and I'm still not taken. So like what are they looking for? know what I mean?
Right. There must be something else wrong with you.
Oh, there is. It's that I was totally committed to chasing money than I was them.
Oh
So
yeah, you were Jim.
oops.
You were Jim Tan Laundry for a while, but now you're gonna be a family
Gym tan
man.
laundry, exactly. No, I'm not tan. I don't go to the gym nearly as much as I used to. So that's actually true, though. You're so right.
That's just what I call like working. If like if I want to have a productive week, I just say to myself like, no, it's gonna be a Jim Tan Laundry week. I'm gonna clean up. I'm gonna, you guys watch Jersey Shore.
I get a
What-
kick out of it.
What is this from? What an unwarranted comment. Not Elkowin says your body will bounce back someday, Chrissy.
Oh my
What
god!
What the hell?
Shots fired.
What the hell? Enjoy your band, sir.
Yeah, ban them.
Someday.
Ban them
Goodbye.
forever.
Goodbye.
Scumbag.
Clint. Oh, another one. Just because I'm free. Clint out here with the humble brag. Has to be the hair.
No, I'm bald, so that's the one downside. That's the one thing I don't have. I don't have the
Hair's
luscious locks.
overrated.
It is. When I started shaving my head was when I started to get the most girls. However, it was also when I got kind of wealthy. So it's correlation causation fallacy. Like maybe if I had had a hair, I would have done.
What's like kind of wealthy? You can have vegetables multiple times a week, that kind of thing.
Like a millionaire,
Okay, ladies, make sure you have no bush, but you're okay with not a lot of hair.
That's right.
You have a beard though. You have hair.
Yeah, face.
You got face.
I got the face.
Yeah, Clint, what is coming up? Where can people find you, etc.?
Liberty Lockdown is the flagship for me. That's where I do kind of these political deep dives. I also have guests on periodically, but as of late, I've been doing primarily solo shows. So if you like kind of, really passionate explorations of modern politics, that's kind of what I do on Liberty Lockdown. I also do Tower Gang if you want to talk about racist and retarded stuff.
Yes.
It's very, very racist and very, very retarded. So you would probably like that. I think some in your audience would like both of these, actually. And I do a third show coming up shortly, which is called Dangerous RTRD.
Retarded?
Yeah, dangerous retards. Real Talk, Real Dudes is what the acronym stands for, just to get away with it algorithmically. It's going to be me, Top Lobster, and David Corbo, the Nephilim Death Squad boys. We're going to be doing a 3-man show, and we'll be starting that probably later this week. So if anybody wants to subscribe on YouTube, it's Dangerous RTRDS. And last but not least, I may be working in the federal government in the next month. If these appointments happen, I do have a pretty high-ranking position that has been promised to me. I don't know if that's going to happen. If it does, I will be moving to DC in March. And if it doesn't, then I will just be back to being a full-time podcaster and hopefully producing some children. So we'll see.
Yes, you can produce children even if you're in DC.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But the gal that I'm seeing, she may not want to do that in DC. So.
Well, you don't have to have sex in DC.
That's true. I can just fly down here, inseminate her, get the fuck out. Yeah.
Fly down to like Atlantic City or I don't know, one of those hotels with the heart-shaped tubs. Get it done. That's where I had my honeymoon.
I think that's my problem. I'm too responsible. I need to just
let loose. Literally let it loose. DS says really he was their boss with glasses. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. But I have no clue what you're talking about half the time. Clint, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Just a joy.
Last time I was on, it was to defend my conversation from like 4 years ago with Eliza Blue. So this is a dramatic improvement.
Oh my God, Eliza Blue.
Yeah. If you remember her.
Whatever happened to her? Where is she? I hope she started a new life somewhere with a wig and a new identity or something.
I hope she's living a great life. I've got no ill will personally.
I hope she's doing great. Eliza, if you're listening, I hope you're selling Tupperware somewhere. Thank you to the chat for your comments and questions. Thank you, Clint Russell. Everyone follow this man. Follow this man. Follow his whole gang. Follow even that guy who posted a picture of a number 2 duty on Twitter, and then I had to unfollow him. But maybe, who knows? Maybe I'll have to refollow him.
He's a lunatic. I don't hold it against you. He's a total psychopath. But that's why I like him. But yeah, at Liberty Lockpod, if anybody wants to follow me on X, they'll have links for everything there. So thank you again.
And just for that, I'm going to play you out on a familiar tune. When I think of Eliza Blue, I must play you out on this song. Yeah.
Yeah. Check it out now.
Bye, guys.